Ahla sahla fikun. Hello and welcome to our channel. Today we're featuring Baba Ghanoush, which is an eggplant dip that goes great with pita chips and veggies. So let's get started. The ingredients that will be needed for Baba Ghanoush or eggplant dip are 2 medium to large size eggplants. We'll need 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. You might want more if you like that garlicky taste, or less if you don't. You'll need 6 tablespoons of tahini. Tahini is also, if you like it strong, you can add or lessen. You'll need about 4 to 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 to 2 teaspoons of pepper. Now we'll move into our first step. Now this recipe that we're doing today is doubled. You can half everything if you want to make just the one eggplant. Now our first step is what we'll do is we'll put our eggplant on a baking sheet as so. We'll put it in the oven at 375 degrees for about 30 minutes. Now to know that it's done, you want to take your glove and just press on it. If it goes soft, then your eggplant is ready. While these are roasting, we'll move into our second step. So while our eggplant is roasting, now during the eggplant roasting, do check on it every 10 to 12 minutes or so, just for the softness and of course to turn it over. Just keep rolling your eggplant over every 10 minutes within the 30 minutes to get your eggplant soft. Now what we'll do is we're gonna peel our garlic and mince it, and we're also gonna freshly squeeze some lemon juice. Remember, you need about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, depending on how garlicky you like it tasting, and you need 4 to 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. In addition to the ingredients, you'll also need a mortar to mince your garlic and a food processor. And if you don't have the food processor, keep watching the video. I have an old-fashioned way to show you. All right, I just minced my garlic and I've used a mortar and a pestle, and that's what it's gonna look like. Now, if you don't have a mortar or a pestle, I do recommend you get one. It could really be found at any department store that sells home good items. They sometimes come in marble or wood. It doesn't matter as long as it has a pestle and a mortar. Now, what I'll do is I will transport this into my food processor, and while we're waiting for our eggplant to roast. So the eggplants have been roasted. So make sure you give them time to cool off when you take them out of the oven, otherwise you have hot fingers. But the best way to peel them now is to place them into a bowl and do it at a sink where you have running cold water, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, the easiest way to peel your eggplant, I do it in a bowl with a little bit of water, cold water drizzling, just for your fingertips because it does get kind of slippery. I use a peeler and a knife. You just take off the top part of your eggplant. Now make sure you let them cool off. If it's a little, at least to your touch of your finger, because you don't want to be hurting yourself if it's too hot. So take off the top, and then just working your eggplant by peeling it. You know, you might need a peeler, your fingers, your knife, whatever works. And then, you know, I just use the water because it gets slippery for my fingers. And then just work it until it's peeled full, like so, and then transport it to your cutting board. All right, so once you have your eggplant peeled, and yes, they look kind of funny, I would cut them in half. Of course, eggplant has seeds, so we want to try to de-seed it as much as we can. And I just cut them in half, and I'll just take a spoon and just rub the spoon right in the center of it and try to remove as many seeds as we can. And just keep doing this until you've gotten most of them. Now, if you miss a couple of seeds, it's not a big deal. It's just de-seeding it so you don't have seeds in your Baba Ghanoush or your roasted eggplant dip. But also, I think it causes a little bitter taste if you leave too many seeds in there. Once you're done de-seeding it, run your eggplant over cold water to kind of rinse out any forgotten seeds, and then let it dry, maybe a paper towel, pat it dry, and then we can add it to our food processor. Okay, so I've used the spoon. I've peeled them, used the spoon to de-seed it as best I can. And then I'll bring it to the sink. And like I said, under running water, you can find those hideaway seeds. And then just with your fingers, kind of clean them out. Get as much as you can. If you don't get them all, it is not the end of the world, but just clean it out as best you can. Just let it drip a little bit. And then I moved it over to a strainer. And I just let them dry up a little before we bring them to our food processor. Okay, so they drained for a while. So what I'll do is I'll just put them on the paper towel, just like so, just to get some extra water out of them. You don't want it too soupy. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll just give it a little chop. Just make them smaller for your food processor. Now, as I was saying before, if you didn't have a food processor, you can give them a chop like this, put them in a large bowl, and right in your sink, give them a more fine chop. And then you can just use like a hard whisk that you have, or a big fork, and just keep playing with them until they're kind of like minced almost, or finely grated. And then you can add your ingredients that way. It may not be as smooth, be a little chunky, but it's still gonna taste the same, still gonna be delicious. So give it a try. In reference to your garlic mortar, if you don't have a mortar and a pestle, you can use a garlic mincer and just mince your garlic, through that mincer a couple of times to make sure it's kind of fine. So all of that has been put in my eggplant. I'll add my pepper, and your pepper was about a teaspoon to 2, depending on how much eggplant you have. And then I'll add my salt. My salt ended up being a little wet from the eggplant, not a big deal. Salt is also 2 teaspoons, but again, it's for your taste, if you can less or more. This is 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, which you can also add less or more. And your tahini sauce. Tahini is 6 tablespoons. Now at the bottom of your tahini sauce, sometimes it just gets chunky. Make sure you're grabbing all that as well as the oils of the tahini, so that way you have it all. And get as much of that in here as you can. And we can top it. All right, and then just either pulse or spin it, and keep spinning it until it's almost like a paste or a dip style. I like to put it on high, turn it off, pulse it a few times. Now you can, if you saw the eggplant was a little dark, traditionally you can add, or optional I should say, you can add a little bit of yogurt, like a couple tablespoons of yogurt to lightening it up. But that's totally optional. It's not going to change the taste. I don't mind the color of the eggplant, so I usually just leave it as is. Once you've pulsed it a few times, open it up. You have your spoon. Just look the consistency of it, and then again, just taste it for your salt, tahini, lemon juice. If you need to add any of that, go ahead and add it, and then just keep pulsing it until it's smooth. Okay, so this is pretty much how it's going to look. Now you can make it smoother. Just keep running the food processor, or with your fork if you're not doing a food processor. But I did just taste it. I added an additional couple tablespoons of lemon juice, an additional of a tablespoon of tahini, because we do like that sauce, that taste, and garlic is perfect. So I'm gonna run it just a couple of seconds and then just get ready to platter it. All right, and I think we are all set. Remove my eggplant from the food processor and we'll platter it. I had toasted some pita chips earlier today, and we had some carrot chips. platter it. Really, you can put it in a Tupperware, throw it in your fridge, snack on it during the day, serve it for dinner, or as a side with dinner. And there you go, family and friends. This is our Baba Ghanoush roasted eggplant dip, which is great with any veggie, great with toasted pita. And all I did was just cut up some pita bread that I had and toasted it in the toaster oven. Drizzled some olive oil on my Baba Ghanoush. Sahtan. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have.